we were able to write songs for the movies, and we had hits from the movies. So, you know, from that standpoint, it was good business. But also from the public's standpoint, we became more enormous in their eyes, in the sense we're now film stars. You're not really a film star, of course, but you're in movies, and it takes you into another dimension, if you like. So I think it was a good move. Cliff had hits, obviously, from things like Espresso Bongo. He had hits from that. Shrine on the Second Floor, I think, wasn't it?
Voice in the Wilderness?
Yeah, Voice in the Wilderness. So we didn't have anything. We just had one instrumental in that, but that was just part of an EP package, a thing called Chinchilla, I think, that Norrie Paramore wrote, funny enough. And in the Young Ones, we wrote some songs for that, and of course we had the hit with The Savage, which again Norrie wrote.
Peace Pipe was from the same film.
Yeah, and Cliff obviously had the hit with the Young Ones, and we wrote a song called We Say Yeah, which became a big sort of stage favourite at the time. The Summer Holiday, Bruce and Brian wrote the title song, Summer Holiday. We had Foot Tapper, which we wrote for that movie, which was a number one for us. Yeah. And a few other little bits and pieces in the movie that we wrote. So, you know, all together it worked pretty well. And then we had a movie called Wonderful Life. And what did we have from that? I'm trying to think. We had
On the Beach.
On the Beach, yeah, that was a hit from that. And,
On the Beach.
And then Finders Keepers. We got an Ivor Novello Award for a song called Time Drags By that we did as an ensemble song with Cliff, obviously taking lead, but lots of harmonies. And on that song, when we recorded, here's a little bit of info. When we did this song, we felt it needed a kind of bluesy harmonica. And we asked our engineer if he knew of anyone who could come in at short notice to Abbey Road, and he rang around, and this guy, we knew him by the way, turned up with a bag full of harmonicas. And this guy's normally known as a guitarist, but he played great harmonica on this guy called Jimmy Page.
Yeah. He's done quite well since.
He's done well, yeah.
You know, you're talking about 1963. This is nearly 5 years we'd been going before the Beatles arrived.
I don't know about you, Bruce, but I always felt that the bubble at some point would burst instrumentally, particularly with singles. It usually does for any artist, and I know there are some notable exceptions who've just continued to have hit after hit. So when that came on the scene, I found it exciting, the music they were making and the sound they were making. I liked the quality of the songs, the rawness of the production, and because I felt that pop music was getting very sweet. It was following the American movement, and we were doing it really ourselves. And the hardness that used to be in our music was beginning to drift away, if it hadn't already. So they came along with this new hardness, getting back to the roots of rock and roll. Exciting. But funnily enough, that year, Bruce, was one of our biggest years for single sales. Elvis was the biggest record seller in the world that year. No, Cliff was. Sorry, Cliff. Elvis second, and we were third. Yeah. That was pretty good. So we had 2 number ones or 3 number ones that year, number twos, a couple of number twos. Big year and big album and everything. So, but we could see the writing on the wall that this new trend was going to get bigger. And it did, didn't it? All the new groups came on the scene.
Most of the groups used to meet, whether it was TV shows, Top of the Pops, whatever it was, or the famous, more likely, the Blue Boar on the M1 at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we actually went to see them at one of those Granadas. Tooting, wherever it was. They were third on the bill. Tommy Rowe, Chris Montez, and the Beatles. It's half empty, no screams. Yeah. And they were great. I thought they were great. It sounded good, it was exciting, and they had a bit of that humour in their act, and people laughed at it. And we went up to see them afterwards, and we walked up the stairs, and John was leaning back with his glasses on, and he whipped them off straight away, because they were very similar to the ones I used to wear in those days, and it just made me smile. Someone said later on that he hates people. Sometimes people say, you look like Hank Marvin, and he hates it, and he takes his glasses off, you see. And we had a great chat with them. And was it that night we went to your place?
Yeah, the party. I had a party at my place, They all came back,
Yeah, and we got the guitars out, a lot of fun. And
we knew they were going to be enormous. I mean, it was obvious they were going to be enormous. Love Me Do, and then Please Please Me.
We were in Abbey Road once, and Paul came in and said, I've got a little tune you might like. Can I play it? We said, yeah. And he sat at the piano, and he went, down, down, da 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 dee 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 dee, and so on. We said, oh, it's lovely. He said, look, I tell you what, can I put it on a cassette and send it in to you? We said, yeah. Right. That was the end of the story. We never heard from him again. And the next Beatles album came out, and it was on there as a song here, there, and everywhere. Yeah, that was as close as we got to having a Beatles composition for us.
We did a charity show at the Palladium, the famous Palladium, and Cliff&Shads, and Billy Cotton Jr. was there, who was head of the BBC, and asked the Shadows. I mean, we went to Storm, you know, Cliff&Shads. We went to Storm, and he asked the Shadows if we would be interested in representing Britain in the Eurovision Song Contest, which was a real big deal in those days. You know, we take the mickey now on stage and everything, but it was a big deal then. And more important, big artists used to appear in it. So, you know, Cliff's done it, as you know, and we've done it. But you know, we could have, even Cliff Richard or the Shadows could have come last, because it is a competition. But it was a big deal, and so we said yes, and ABBA had won the contest the year before, so we went off to Stockholm and sang this song, Let Me Be the One.
Let me be the one who's loving you tonight. Let me be the one who really holds you tight. I'll even bring along a magic boot.
We came second in the contest, but more important, it put the Shadows back in the singles chart, which we hadn't been in the singles chart for, I don't know, 10 years maybe?
Yeah. Bruce actually suggested we play it on stage as a feature for me, and I didn't like the idea at all, because I thought, oh, I don't think it's going to work. So we talked about it, I said, okay, what we'll do, we'll rehearse it, we'll put it in the show. Well, first of all, rehearse it, and if it feels good, we'll put it in the show, and we'll try it out. And if it works in the show, fine. And that's what we did, and it pulled the house down every night. It was fantastic.
It's the only time we've ever had the audience actually shouting us to record it. And that's what happened, wasn't it? I mean, they would,
yeah.
You know, a lot of the nights we were on the road saying, record it, record it. We'd never had that before. So we did.
So we had this huge hit.
Yeah.
And it was, I think it just took us all by surprise. You know, we didn't really believe it was going to be a hit record. We got this very nice letter from Jean-Michel Jarre saying he was so thrilled that we'd recorded one of his compositions because he'd been a big Shads fan. And fun enough, later on, I did a track with him on the Revolutions album. And
you played in Docklands as well.
Played in the Docklands thing with them, yeah.
You play anywhere, this guy.
Ah, do anything. And then I also, funnily enough, went to Paris to play at the centennial of the Eiffel Tower. He got all these photographs out from when he was a kid with his red Stratocaster and all that. He used to play he used to play in the Shads band. We're going to do a little piece of music now that I had the pleasure of playing with Dire Straits back in 1985. I appeared on all their London gigs on the Brothers in Arms tour to do this number. It's a great little tune. It's from a movie called Local Hero.